Chapter 1 of the book Path to Enlightenment. The principal mission of the Lord Buddha. All of the world religions are concerned about the harmony and well-being of humans in the present life. Most of the religions are based on belief in God and at least one rebirth. Some do not based on belief in God as a creator, and some do not believe in rebirth. The Lord Buddha was concerned about two main realities of human existence. They are the comfortable, happy, harmonious present life and the life after death, rebirth. The Lord Buddha was concerned with rebirth, which he referred to as re-becoming because of the resulting suffering. Therefore, he investigated and realized how re-becoming takes place and how to cease its occurrence and re-becoming. Even if there wasn't a Buddha, people in the world could still have lived a reasonably comfortable life in peace and harmony, but there would not have been a way to escape from the suffering of birth and the suffering resulting from birth. As such, the Buddha's principal mission was teaching the path that would completely eliminate the suffering of birth and the suffering resulting from birth. Many religious teachers or any other teachers would be able to teach you how to do things based on what they knew or what they could do, but no one other than a Buddha is able to teach you on how to eliminate suffering entirely. The Buddha arises in the world so as to reveal the path to eliminate re-becoming and the suffering resulting from re-becoming. What are these sufferings that the Buddha disclosed? We need to identify and clarify what he meant by the term dukkha, stress or suffering, and categorize it based on what is in the past, present and the future. The suffering of birth. The first stage of birth of a human being is in a mother's womb. It is a very unpleasant, dark, fearful, miserable place filled with amniotic fluid with a fetid smell. The womb is surrounded by the stomach, which is filled with blended food that looks like vomit. Small and large intestines carrying partially digested food, and the colon, which is filled with excrement. This stage of the life of the fetus is like that of worms in a huge sludge tank. The fetus grows in the womb for 9 months or so, waiting to be born while experiencing a lot of painful feelings due to unpredictable movements and sudden actions of the mother. When the mother eats or drinks something hot, spicy, or when she overeats, the stomach gets heated and stretched. When this happens, it is not just the mother that gets hurt, burned, and feels discomfort. The fetus in the womb is also affected and feels as if it is living in a constricting, heated oven. When cold things are partaken, the same thing happens. The fetus feels like it is living in a refrigerator. When the mother walks briskly or runs, her entire body shakes, and it affects the baby inside the womb. When the mother dresses in tight clothes or tie a belt, it restricts the baby's movement. Therefore, the activities of a pregnant mother can cause discomfort and pain to the baby inside the womb. If mother gets sick, she may need to take medicine which could be harmful to the baby. Some mothers take drugs or smoke, engaging the life and health for the fetus. Some have fall or experience trauma or physical and mental abuse that can affect the health and welfare of the fetus. If and when the baby has safely grown in the womb, after the gestation period, the baby faces the trauma of birth. Squeezed and compressed by strong muscles or with the help of forceps, the baby comes to the world crying and grasping for air. We cannot remember the distress of birth but can visualize the trauma of it is compared to getting an elephant through a keyhole. This is the suffering of birth. The suffering of old age. The body starts to age at birth. From the time you are born, your body is decaying and you are getting closer to your death. You may not notice it when you are young, but as you age, the decaying of the body is apparent. When you are old, you can no longer deny the fact that you are forgetful and that you cannot do the things you did in the past. You are losing fat, muscles, and cells that won't grow again. You are left with swollen sinews, shrunken, wrinkled, and discolored skin, grey hair, and loss of teeth. There is decrease in strength and inability to cope with your daily activities and work. This, together with loss of hearing and sight, makes you frustrated and angry. Due to old age and your body's loss of sensitivity and control, unpleasant odor arise from your body. People no longer wish to around you and they do not wish to be close to you. As your body decays, we begin to lose emotional control. We get increasingly frustrated and angry because we can no longer live an active lifestyle as before. Everything takes longer and we tend to forget things. We are no longer independent and we cannot take care of ourselves. We need to depend on an attendant or nurse's aid. If there is no one to help, the situation becomes even worse. From the birth to death, you are aging or atrophying. You are continuously getting old due to the generation of cells and bones. Old age has crept upon you slowly without your knowledge. You have grown, matured and aged. With age, your abilities and capabilities have faded. As an example, a 10-year-old may not be able to get into a baby's cot or onto his mother's lap to sleep. You are no longer able to perform some task you did as a teenager when you are 40 years old. Likewise, you can notice a decline in your abilities at 70 to perform tasks you did at 40. You are becoming quite dysfunctional and might feel worthless. You do not want to accept this aging and loss of functionality. This is the suffering of old age. The suffering of sickness. Sicknesses can arise at any age. This body is a center or a hotbed for disease. The disease that human beings succumbed to are numerous. We have disease of the eye, ear, skin, heart, lung, blood. In fact, all the body parts are carrying a disease of some shape, way, or form from your birth to death. When you are afflicted with a disease or a malady and it shows its symptoms, we say that she is sick. Otherwise, when there are no visible or outward symptoms, such a pain, we say that she is healthy. However, the lack of symptoms, when we say that she is healthy, doesn't necessarily means that the person is free from disease. All of you have experienced the discomfort of sickness. You know what happens when you get sick. You may not be able to take care of yourself or perform your daily activities or work efficiently. At times you feel frustrated, angry, and or sad when you lose your independence and need to be taken care of by others. The pain and the fear of the serious diseases or terminal diseases is known and seen. You have experienced this, so there is no need to explain or belabor the suffering of sicknesses which are inevitable to all. Irrespective of their station of birth, gender, or age, this is suffering of sickness. The suffering of death. This feeling of death will not arise until your death. You may have experienced this suffering in your past life, but you cannot remember. Therefore, we need to imagine the stress and suffering of death by looking at the feelings that arise when things cease to exist or when death occurs. Basically, you know that at death you depart from all your family members and leave behind what you have gained as material wealth. You know what you would feel if you were separated from those you loved and your wealth. The moment of death is a very sad moment. It is a very fearful moment, and you may even get frustrated and angry about this situation that you cannot control. Let us take an example. If you lose $100, you may become sad. If you lose more, say $100,000, what would happen? You will be very sad, more so than if you had lost just $100. Now imagine how you will feel if you suddenly lose all your material wealth and all your loved ones. Death or departure from this world is inevitable. Imagine what you will feel if you are not prepared and have no face a sudden death. You will feel very sad. You may even be a little scared and afraid of the unknown. You want to live and cling to your wealth and enjoy the materialistic things and comfort. You want to be in the company of your friends and loved ones long. That is what happens at the death. All living beings fear and dislike death. Only arahants, fully awakened persons, do not fear death. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sicknesses is suffering, and death is suffering. Disassociation from the loved and pleasant is suffering. Association with the unloved and unpleasant is suffering. And not getting what you want is suffering. I can cite a lot of situations in your life where you may have encountered suffering. Let us take some examples. Your belongings were stolen. Your loved ones passed away. You had to face unexpected calamities such as flood, earthquakes, or fires. Let us take a few more examples. Struggling to find a job, striving to find food to survive, earning to build a place to live, having children and raising them, cooking food, washing dishes, washing your own clothes are all stressful and suffering. If you are single and living with your parents, your burden may be less. However, if you are married and have children and living with or take care of your parents, your burden or suffering is going to be very heavy. I am not going to explain much more on this topic of suffering. You have to clearly understand that no one can escape from this stress or suffering after they are born. All this happens as a result of birth. This is not only true for human beings but for each and every beings in the world. Even though their suffering is not visible to us, the suffering is occurring continuously throughout one's life. This suffering is more when we consider the animal kingdom. They are constantly in fear for their life and constantly searching for food for their survival. They are at the mercy of the elements and affected by rain, drought, cold and heat, for they often have no shelter. Those born in unhappy realms such as the hell realms or spirit realms as ghosts and demons have even greater sufferings. Even gods and Brahmas living in their respective realm or plane of existence experiencing suffering. The Lord Buddha's teaching shows us that there are no beings in the entire universe that are immune to suffering. The level of suffering may vary from person to person, human to animal, gods to Brahmans, but no one can escape from suffering, whether you are in a cave, ocean, air, glen or glade. According to the teaching of the Buddha, there are 31 different realms of plane where birth can take place. When death occurs, rebecoming takes place in one of these realms based upon one's intentional, skillful or unskillful action. Suffering exists in each and every one of these realms of birth. The intensity of suffering may differ, but the sufferings exist. Only an awakened being eliminates the causes for rebecoming and ends birth, old age, sicknesses and death. Only an awakened being eliminates the suffering of birth and suffering resulting from birth. The Lord Buddha realized a path to end birth or rebecoming. There is a way to achieve the state of non-suffering. The Lord Buddha called this state Nibbana, fully enlightenment. The only way to reach this state of non-suffering or fully enlightenment is to follow the path that the Blessed One realized and taught. No one other than a Buddha can ever realize this enlightenment or spiritual awakening without following the path taught by the Buddha.